over the last week and a half has been one of the tougher weeks and a half I've ever had. Okay. So crashed my car, totaled my car, had my kids crying and screaming in the midst of that, and had to really kind of grapple with the fact of like, man, it was only me driving, my 2 kids were in the car, and having to grapple with the fact of like, I could have just killed like 3/4 of my family. Like very easily could have driven into a telephone pole. Have been going through a lot of like financial hardship over the last month. Have had less money in my bank account than I have had in like probably 15 years. Like, so financial, material things going away. Just some job things that have come up where, there's just some unforeseen circumstances that have left me really like, oh my gosh, like, I feel alone. I feel like all these different things that are going sideways in my life. But it's been interesting because in the midst of that, in the last week, I've been able to cultivate gratitude. And what I mean by that is to be able to look at my life and to say, okay, it's very easy because the whole world does it, is focus on the negative, right? I think we live in a world where a lot of people focus on negative feedback. And misery loves company. So I think oftentimes we find just groups of people complaining about the world, complaining about sports teams, complaining about situations going on wrong in the world, instead of focusing on what is happening in my life that's actually good right now.
I heard a rumor that you are a Buckeye fan.
Is this true?
Committed your life.
Who told you that?
Sam.
I can't say.
No, you got to tell me now.
Sam, I'd like to know about it.
It was AJ.
Sam.
It was AJ's wife.
Hey, Victoria.
Ah.
Yeah. So Sam like said that he is like going to be a Buckeye fan.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what I said.
But she doesn't talk
Sam.
like that.
No, you're right. I was just imitating any woman. It wasn't like
That was just a general woman.
Yeah, that was just women.
Yeah.
The woman, right, Jack? The woman.
I don't know what's happening.
I don't either.
But
Is that
I hear
true?
you're a Buckeye fan.
Yeah, I think I've never committed my allegiance to something for college sports, and so
Okay.
I'd say Ohio State and like Notre Dame. So
No, but
basically,
who's first?
at this point, they both have
No.
disappointed me. So
Yeah, that's fair. They do
I would
disappoint
say I'll
you.
root for Ohio State.
Yeah. I can get behind
This
that.
is what I told this person that shall remain nameless. I think you already named her. But this is what I told her. I said, I hope, because you're such a passionate person,
Yeah.
that I'm like, give it 2 years, and this guy is going to be
The most passionate
like
LSU fan.
the way he is. Maybe not with the Chiefs, not to that level,
Yeah.
but like you will be your heart will be
Wow.
fully engaged, and that excites me.
You have a history of this. A guy from England.
Oh yeah. So a guy I worked with 10 years ago. He's from England. He's a semi-pro rugby player. No football allegiance. No football. Like literally, football for him was soccer. So he had no like American football reality, and he literally committed to. Was that your chair? I want to kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was my chair. Jeez.
Okay, all right. Let's let the
I'm
I'm
chair
gonna keep
go.
going.
Keep through
All
line.
I did was
Wow. Anyways, he is from England. He came to the U.S. I obviously am deeply committed to Ohio State football. He became an Ohio State fan that year, and to this day, he reps Ohio State everywhere he goes. He lives
Like
in Minnesota
maybe
now.
harder than I do.
Yeah,
Like gets very passionate.
shout out to Liam. He's
the man.
if we need to have him on here because he will
He would be the right guy.
take our. We would have to change our content rating, but
Yeah. But it would be awesome.
every other word's like a
Yeah.
word.
Yeah, it's strong. Yeah, he's got colorful language.
Yeah, I mean, in Northern England,
That's right. We need more color. up here.
or like
It's
is the F word.
Yeah.
So, but he's a diehard Ohio State fan now. Like he was talking like defensive
Recruits.
schemes, recruiting.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's like on top of it.
Yeah,
And
he's
so
on it.
I
He's
pray
defending
that
it.
for you.
I like you're an
pathetically
Ohio State fan.
Dude, I didn't realize in the UK that like this is the F word. Did you
Like
know
the
that?
peace sign?
A backwards peace sign is like,
Really?
No, I didn't know that.
yeah, it is. So don't you be doing that.
I won't be doing that.
Don't do it to Liam.
Actually, we should
He could
tell.
be. He's like kind of a scary looking dude. too.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
He's
yeah.
a beast. He's a beast. I love you, Liam. I'm gonna send this to you.
Send this podcast to Liam. So you do like Ohio State football? Just yes or no? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also have heard constantly, right before really we recorded, that you like Taylor Swift. Do you want to lay out? Do you want to lay out a good explanation of why that's a reasonable take?
Like is a strong word.
Okay.
So I
like is a strong
I think
word.
I actually one of the oh gosh.
Okay.
Smoker's got,
Man, he's
got the
getting
black
ready.
lung.
He's just getting the Marlboros out.
I was with someone, Jack, the cameraman. Hi, Jack. And we were driving in Baltimore.
There it goes.
Camera
There
look.
it goes.
The
right
one
down,
one
right
podcast.
The one guy who looks right down barrel.
Hey, you know, I'm here
At
for
least
it.
once a show.
So Jack and I were driving and we listened to 3 songs pretty much on repeat. And then I tried to go outside of those songs and they all suck. So
Yeah.
it's
All the
pretty much,
songs outside of those
yeah,
three.
yeah, it's pretty much reduced to me for like Cruel Summer, Anti-Hero, and Karma. And like those things, I can chill in that zone.
And you're just there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that she dates Travis Kelce.
That's a big part of this.
Yeah.
I know it is.
Yeah.
It has to be for you.
Yeah. But that's about it. Not a huge Swiftie, just like Karma.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
like karma.
Karma is a god. Listen to it on the airplane, the 54-minute flight from
Mhm.
Baltimore to CMH.
Best flight ever.
Probably about 10 times.
It is catchy. It's got
On
a catchy.
repeat.
It's got a catchy vibe to it.
Hey, Pete and repeat.
We're sitting on.
I don't
I don't
remember how the
actually
rest
know
of the
how it
joke
goes at all.
Pete and repeat.
I almost said
Something.
we're sitting on a fence, but I don't think that's how it goes.
You heard that joke before?
Never in my life.
It basically, you get them to say repeat and you say Pete and repeat. We're sitting on a bench.
And then
Pete fell off. Who's left?
Repeat.
Pete and repeat. We're sitting on a bench.
Yeah, something like
Pete
that.
fell off. Who's left?
You just keep saying it.
Yeah, because you're asking them to repeat it. It's so
That's
it's
pretty
as you
stupid.
can tell, it's an absolute
Yeah.
banger of a joke, kind of like Karma. I just think it
It's a
sounds
horrible
whiny.
song.
Doesn't it sound whiny?
No, it sounds like an AI song. Sounds like AI could create that.
AI.
It does it not?
There's
think it totally
confirmation
should.
in the room.
For sure. Well, yeah. So anyway, the Bills smashed the 49ers last night. Just in
Mhm.
case
Yeah,
y'all
that
were
was
wondering.
horrible because I had the 49ers as my defense, which
Christian McCaffrey
I think
got
they had
hurt.
like negative
I know,
6.
he was my running back. Chris Collinsworth.
Hold
is-
on. You're playing fantasy this year?
Not with us.
Wow.
That's okay.
Wow.
It's okay.
I don't pay. I don't pay for crap like that.
Well,
Dude, it's not that much money. It's not that much money. at
Balling
all.
on a budget, baby. Got 2 kids.
Oh,
sort on the way.
Please. That's why you're not doing it. That's why you're not playing this fantasy league. You don't want to pay 20. Is it 10 or 20?
I know. I'm
I can't
honestly, I'm pretty
remember.
choosy about my
Honestly,
money.
I think it's $20.
You know why? It's because I know I'm going to lose. So
Yeah.
there's no, it's basically saying, hey, here's $20
Well, how are you
down
doing?
the toilet.
How are you doing in your
Oh,
league?
I'm 2-7.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
then this makes sense.
Yeah, let me put
That's
let
'cause
me
Christian
put a flag in
McCaffrey-
the sand. I know that we're playing in the Taylor Swift waters, the Ohio State waters. This weekend was horrible for me. This is going to suggest when we recorded this show. Not horrible because of the vacation I was on, because it was awesome. Not
Mm.
horrible because of the weather in Phoenix, Arizona, where I was at, because it was awesome. Horrible because the way that everything sports related worked out this weekend couldn't have gone
Awful.
worse.
Awful.
So I am
Awful.
with my wife's family. So shout out Dazinski clan.
Shout
Michigan
the
fans.
Dazinski clan are all Michigan fans. Okay.
Horrible.
And-
Xavier's playing in the
Just
Fort
the parents,
Myers
though?
tip-off, my
I saw that.
basketball team.
I saw
Okay.
that.
What's up?
Just her parents? Or,
No, so her dad,
Yeah.
diehard Michigan fan, mom by proxy.
yes.
Mom only supports Ohio State because Alex, Daniela, and
Yeah.
Nina all
Yeah,
went
yeah.
there.
But Alex is a
Alex
Michigan
is
fan.
back to Michigan now
Wait,
that he's
Alex is a
graduated.
Michigan fan?
Yes, he's back on it. So
He's
it's
like the worst person to have on it.
it was it's not good.
Wow.
And I got in a huge
That's
debate
kinda
on if
crazy.
Herbert or Burrow are better. It was a hard weekend sports wise. But here's what I'll say.
Where'd you land on that one?
Burrow.
Oh, 100%.
Burrow.
100%.
Because he wins.
Yes.
But
That's totally not true.
No.
Look at-
Here's the thing, though.
No, no, no.
I've never
On-
seen a defense that bad.
Okay.
He
They
is
literally
winning.
suck this year.
They suck.
No.
Yeah.
And they lost in the Super Bowl. So you can't, and they
I agree.
lose to the Chiefs and the Bills every play. You can't say he wins games.
No,
he doesn't
he
win
does.
games.
He does. Longevity.
No, he doesn't
Longevity.
win.
He won more than Mahomes in high school, more than Mahomes
We're talking
in
about the
college,
professional.
more
We're
than.
talking about- I'm talking
No. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying he's a winner.
He's a natural born winner. He
He's
has
a
a
winner. He won
horrible
a state
front
championship
office.
in high
He has a
school.
horrible
He
front office.
couldn't
He won a
make it at
national
Ohio
championship.
State, so he had to go to LSU.
That part's true, but it's also
That
tricky
does
because
suck.
Ohio State's like the way they run their offense. Wait, let me get back.
No,
Hold on.
Joe.
I'm in Phoenix.
Joe
Okay,
Burrow
listen.
is just going to be John Elway. I'm just going to say he'll win one and then he'll fade into oblivion.
wouldn't
I
disagree with
don't
that.
actually disagree
And
with
you know
that.
what?
But who's Herbert then? I don't think Herbert's better
just
than
a
Burrow.
weird guy in the background.
That's what
you
I'm
know?
saying. Okay,
I didn't say he's better.
We
We're building.
No.
Yeah, we get agreement. Okay, so Xavier gets drummed by Michigan in basketball. Okay,
Watch that.
like one of the opening days of vacation. Haha, laugh it off. You know.
Yeah.
Then Ohio State loses to Michigan in
Okay.
football, and then the Bengals let Russell Wilson put 413 yards on them.
And you know what sucks is they lost the game because they couldn't cover Justin Fields on a freaking 3rd and 8.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. That was my weekend sports wise. And I had to like defend myself against 3 college guys arguing for Herbert over Burrow. So that gives you
that's actually ignorant.
General
perspective. I will say this. We should probably have a episode on the fight.
What fight?
On the melee.
The Ohio State, Michigan.
Quote unquote. Is that like is that like a technical term? Melee?
I keep hearing it thrown out.
Melee.
Jack.
That makes me think of Smash Bros. Melee. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like they keep going like every like write up I see or every like melee, commentary, they call it melee. Is that just like a indiscriminate fight that happens in a mob?
Are you just saying pretty much or did you actually?
Well, I just know melee from Super Smash Bros.
Yeah, me too.
Jackson for Adam today and he's bringing our
confused fight, skirmish, or scuffle.
Oh, okay, I don't think Ohio State was confused.
No.
I think we were all confused.
Jack Sawyer ripping that flag out. We should talk about that in a different one.
Because that
I'm in agreement.
I got in a fight with somebody on Saturday, not physical. This time, just text.
Throat punched him again, didn't you?
I did not throw punch. I verbally throw punched them.
Dude, I'm saying we got to get stickers. How many of you out there would buy those stickers?
I see.
I know you.
Yep.
And you.
Yep. Looks like maybe 3. So
Dude.
Let's order a pack of 12
and split them up. Throw punch. 4 on your laptop.
Yes, throw punch.
But I'm convinced. I'm just gonna say this. We can get into it later. Yeah. I'm convinced that Ohio State did not throw the first punch. I watched every video. I saw an uppercut from Michigan first, then it broke out. And I'm also convinced that if Michigan had never brought the flag out, none of this would have happened. And so everyone's trying to blame Ohio State for things. It was trashy Michigan doing trashy things.
The most impressive thing about that whole fight was the fact that one solitary Michigan student was on the field. Did you see this?
No, what?
Was on the field and had the flag. He got the flag somehow and was ripping away from 3 different Ohio State players.
Okay,
and
this
got
is just
away
some
with
pedestrian Michigan fan.
Like,
that's actually amazing.
That's pretty impressive.
Well, I actually laughed because as we're watching it, like I'm in disbelief because my family around me is
I'd be so
it's
mad.
just a lot happening.
I'd be so mad.
And I'm like watching and I see my wife Nina pull up her phone to take a picture of the screen. And it's 2 guys that got pepper sprayed. And we had the closed captioning on. And Joel Klatt says, like at the perfect time in the closed captioning, someone get these guys to the locker room. And so I have this picture on my phone. It's like a perfect meme. Yeah. It's just these 2 guys crying because they got maced.
This is the last thing I'll say on it. My family has also all of a sudden, well, our whole life we've been Buckeye fans, right? Yeah. All of our lives we've been Buckeye fans. Everybody's in town for Thanksgiving. And now that my sister moved to North Carolina and she's married and her husband's a big Bama and Penn State fan.
Oh,
and now
he's a big Bama and Penn State fan.
Bama and Penn State.
I have a huge respect for him, but I don't know how you can do that.
I know that's what I've said. And now that my brother, he went to UC, so he's a big UC guy. Everyone's turned on Ohio State except for myself and my younger brother, right? And so I get into it. Simon. We'll get him on here.
He should be on here.
So where I'm just making the point of how disrespectful it was of what Michigan did. Mm-hmm. And somebody in the house, my sister, says, well, you know what? I'll just say it. It turned into a melee in our house.
Turned into a throat punch.
And so I would never throat punch my brother, but he could beat the crap out of me.
Couldn't take him.
Full circle.
But anyways, my sister goes, you know, if Ohio State would have won, they would have done the same thing. And I'm like, sister, I don't call her sister. That'd be weird.
False.
False. I'm like, our whole life, we've beaten Michigan every single year and we've never done that crap. We have never brought a flag out. But now, you know what? I hope we do. I hope we do next year if it's not banned from the NCAA, which it probably will be. But I'm pretty confident that Michigan's just kind of trashy.
Yeah, we should consider an episode on that. I like that.
We should.
Yeah.
Consider an episode on that. Maybe put Ryan Day in there.
Oh,
because then we get more disagreement, I think.
I would love to sit here because that's actually leadership versus either side.
Yeah. There's a lot to it. Sam, opinions on any of that we just said?
Ryan Day's not a leader.
Whoa.
That's where he and I disagree, if you want to know.
Yeah, that's sweet.
All right. The Ohio State Buckeye fan, Sam Halligan, everyone.
It'll probably come back up in this episode.
Yeah, you know.
I'm pretty confident.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that.
If you want to, I mean, we can talk about what we're talking about. I bet it'll come back in.
I also think Josh Allen is just Peyton Manning.
Just Peyton Manning.
I love that you
That's an
say
interesting-
just like Peyton Manning's top.
Yeah, like Hall of Famer.
5 quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just saying.
Yeah, I think I get behind it.
Yeah.
I like the comps. You're pulling out good comps. I
Yeah.
actually do see. I could see the Elway Burrow comp.
Yeah. And you know,
Only it would be
someone's
nice
gotta
if Burrow
play
had
Tom
Champ
Brady,
Bailey
though,
and John
in
Lynch.
today's world,
Or
right?
better than Tom Brady.
Someone's got to pray Tom Brady today.
Pray.
Tay?
You gotta
Play?
pray
Yeah,
Tom
something
Brady.
like that.
And
Sam,
that
you
guy's name is
wanna?
Patrick Mahomes.
You wanna?
Pray? Yeah, let's do
No,
it.
you know, like
God
ties it up.
of
Okay.
war,
Oh, what if you? I thought he was gonna start singing Karma. I thought that's like.
Hammer be mighty.
I distance myself from this.
Yeah.
You're a jerk.
Sam,
Let's do it.
I think you might have a rediscover angle for us today. If you're watching for the first time, I apologize for pretty much everything.
What are you doing with your lip right now? Okay.
Yeah, but
This is devolving.
modern
I'm ready
man-
for it.
Yeah, Sam's gonna kick us off. We take an angle, either a rediscover, redeem angle, because we're talking masculinity. Ryan Day, we will talk about him at a different time.
So excited.
But today, what you got for us?
Yeah.
Rediscover
Gratitude.
gratitude. Huh?
Yeah, you ever
Do it.
heard of the movie Inglorious Bastards before?
I love that
have.
movie.
I
Yeah.
don't love it, but I've seen
that
it.
movie.
Well, let
Yeah.
me tell you, we live in a generation of ungrateful bastards in this world. That land.
Dude, watch this. Watch
you are
this.
you are on one right
Yeah,
now.
dude, we're in the most ungrateful generation probably ever to live. Can I scientifically back that up? Probably not.
Probably not. It's
But
just a strong statement.
I can
That's
tell you
probably
this. I do believe that, I do declare that one
True.
of
I do declare.
I do
You,
declare.
you've done
That's
6
the
accents in the
office.
last
Yeah.
12 minutes.
Naughty Nelly Nutmeg.
That's definitely the office.
Yeah. So I do believe that we are living in the midst of one of the most ungrateful generations to ever live. Again, cannot prove it. I don't have any facts and figures.
Just anecdotes.
Just anecdotes. I would say that we live in a world that really is hyper focused on materialism, gaining things for myself, and not being really grateful for what we have. I think one thing that I can point to, so we are recording this on Cyber Monday. Okay.
Mhm.
So Cyber Monday sales last year in 2023 were over $13 billion on Cyber Monday. Okay. Not yesterday, but a couple days ago on Black Friday, it was over 10 billion. So I think that people just are spending money and spending time and spending effort trying to accumulate things and not really focused on what people already have. So this angle of rediscover gratitude, I believe that for the preceding generations, many of which would have come from a Judeo-Christian background or one focused on ethics or philosophy, would have cultivated a perspective of gratitude. And so ultimately, I think that this is something that's missing in the world today. So I want to point to, I know sometimes, the three of us are all deeply Christian. Sometimes we shy away from, not shy away, but we don't really speak that part of it too much. I do want to pull out one scripture passage that I think can really ground us in something that is kind of central to this theme. So if you're not familiar, there's this man, his name's Paul, right? He's the author of 2/3 of the New Testament. He encountered the person of Jesus on the road to Damascus, and it was a life-changing experience for him that he ended up dedicating his entire life to the spreading of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And he writes a letter to the church in Philippi, and this is what he talks about within the context of gratitude. He says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. I say it again, rejoice. Your kindness should be known to all. The Lord is near. Have no anxiety at all, but in everything, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, make your requests known to God. Then the peace of God that will surpass all understanding will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus." And then he goes on to say, "I rejoice greatly in the Lord that now at last you revived your concern for me. So you were, of course, concerned with me, but lacked an opportunity. Not that I say this because of need, for I have learned in every situation I find myself to be self-sufficient. I know indeed how to live in humble circumstances, and I know how to live with abundance. In every circumstance and in all things, I have learned the secret of being well-fed and of going hungry, of living in abundance and of being in need. I have strength for everything through him who empowers me." And I share all this because ultimately I think it's a real skill in life and a virtue in life to be able to look at some of the hardest, most stressful, most suffering situations and to be able to find the good in them. There's a truth that I like to reflect on that is in every adversity carries within itself the seed of a greater or an equivalent value. So meaning that when you encounter adversity or suffering or hard circumstances, there can be fruit that comes forth from that circumstance that's actually greater than the adversity facing you. I'll give you guys some just real life examples. So over the last week and a half, it's been one of the tougher weeks and a half I've ever had. Okay. So crashed my car, totaled my car, had my kids crying and screaming in the midst of that, and had to really kind of grapple with the fact of like, man, it was only me driving, my two kids were in the car, and having to grapple with the fact of like, I could have just killed like 3/4 of my family. Like very easily could have driven into a telephone pole. Have been going through a lot of like financial hardship over the last month. Have had less money in my bank account than I have had in like probably 15 years. Like, so financial, material things going away, just some job things that have come up where, there's just some unforeseen circumstances that have left me really like, oh my gosh, like, I feel alone. I feel like all these different things that are going sideways in my life. But it's been interesting because in the midst of that, in the last week, I've been able to cultivate gratitude. And what I mean by that is to be able to look at my life and to say, okay, it's very easy because the whole world does it, is focus on the negative, right? I think we live in a world where a lot of people focus on negative feedback. And misery loves company. So I think oftentimes we find just groups of people complaining about the world, complaining about sports teams, complaining about situations going on wrong in the world, instead of focusing on what is happening in my life that's actually good right now. So instead of me being all pissed off that I totaled my car, I don't have a whole lot of money in my bank account, my kids were freaked out that day, I could focus on, man, I'm so grateful that I'm okay. I'm so grateful that I'm not on my way to a hospital right now. I'm so grateful I'm not like a quadriplegic right now. I'm so grateful that I have a roof over my head. I'm so grateful I'm able to pay my mortgage. I'm so grateful that I have food in my cupboard. Like being able to focus on that. I think some people might hear that and say, oh, that's just a cop out. Like you're being positive. It's like, no. I don't think it's positivity. I think it's like realism. Like I'm focusing on what is real right now. And I think my last thing, and I definitely want to hear what you guys think, and we can kind of begin to break this conversation out. I think gratitude is so important because it develops in us three things that I think are incredibly necessary for a man's life. So one is that when we practice gratitude, we cultivate hope. So we cultivate hope about the future of what could happen in my life. When we practice gratitude, we cultivate peace. So we become more peaceful of where we are. We're not just like focused on what we don't have, we're focused on what we do have. And then lastly, when we practice gratitude, it cultivates abundance. We actually see how much we have instead of just saying, oh, I don't have very much, or all these things are going on in my life. So I think ultimately it's so important for us because it's peace, hope, and abundance. So curious what you guys think about that. What does it land? What's it pulling you? Do you agree with me? Disagree with me?
Yeah, gratitude is something I think about a lot. So I think your reflections are just making me think of all the ways that I've wrestled with gratitude in my own life and the reasons that I've presumed gratitude to be lacking in the society we live in, especially like in the like just the time we find ourselves in right now. Like, why do we find, at least to the anecdotes that we have, just what can't be explained other than a lack of gratitude? And I think it's because it's similar to what you were saying, Sam, like that like hope, peace, abundance idea, right? Like that gratitude leads us to these three things. I think hope, peace, and abundance can only exist absent entitlement. And I think that like, because when I feel entitled to something, I can't hope for something because I'm like, that should be mine anyway.
Yeah.
Right. I can't have peace about something because everything that's not mine should be mine because I was entitled to it. Right. I actually can't see abundance because all I see are the things that I'm entitled to and the ways in which different, what would you say, inequities keep me from having that. And I think that we live in a society that's just super entitled, if I'm being honest, that we're entitled to what someone else has. We're entitled to the opportunities the person across from us has. We're entitled to the intellectual capacity that someone has or the athletic capacity someone has, or you just fill in the blanks. But it's helped me a lot. There's a mentor in my life who I used to go to, and I was just like, it was a season in my life where I was just wrestling with a lot, similar to what you were saying about the last week. Just in my life, I can look at like seasons where something happens that's just like super unfortunate and just not necessary. And it happens at like these big moments where I'm like excited for something. It's like, why did that happen then? And I have like this like story that I can tell where like I go through, 10 years of it. And a mentor of mine once just kind of like let me go through all these things and then asked me, like, instead of saying why me for that, like, why not me? Like, why wouldn't that have been me who went through that at that time? Did I expect it to be someone else who had to go through it? And like, it just kind of shifted my mind to be like, yeah, what if I wasn't a victim to all these circumstances? Wait, why do I feel like I'm a victim to those circumstances? Oh, because I feel like I'm entitled to something being different. And then I started working on just kind of like reflecting what in life am I entitled to? And as I reduced it down, it's like, I'm entitled to non-existence. That's about what I'm entitled to.
Yeah.
And if you can get down to there, like, honestly, like it takes a lot of like, just like sharpening, because you have to dig deep and you have to get rid of a lot. But when you can see that, then if all I'm entitled to is non-existence and everything past the point of that is gift, gratitude becomes so much easier.
Yeah.
Hope becomes so much more available. Peace becomes so much more available. Abundance becomes so much more possible, because I just realized that, like, wait, oh, I just breathed. Oh, wait, I have a mind that functions. Oh, wait, I have a body that functions. Oh, wait, I have a wife that loves me. Oh, wait, I have a little one at home that's so excited to see me. Oh, wait,
Yeah.
I have guys in my life. You can see like
Yeah.
the infinite. So anyway, back to the beginning, it's like, I've reflected on gratitude a lot. And I thought that idea of hope, peace, and abundance is really good, because those are things I do see men really, really, yearning for and not finding. And I think the reason we're not finding those things is because we play the victim when we feel entitled.
Yeah.
And we have just a culture of entitlement, that we're entitled to this, that, and that, instead of just, actually, I'm owed nothing. And so let's start from that point, and gratitude can be a lot more available.
That's awesome, Brad.
Yeah, well, I think too, we just we're not awake. What I see more than anything else is that we're not awakened to reality at all. So like, you can live your life. It's the conversation we've had before about living in a suburb, right? Like, you can live your life without seeing a homeless person. You can go a month. Some people go months without seeing a homeless person. Some people go months without seeing a paraplegic. Some people go months without seeing like so many different. They probably see a paraplegic now. I'm thinking about it. Never mind. But I'm saying like that we go that. Sorry, I gotta put this back. But anyways, there's so many people. You go without seeing suffering. Basically, is what I'm saying.
You can insulate yourself from like reality.
Bro, you're fine.
All right, yeah. So I'm not gonna look at you for a second.
I have this effect on people, Brad. I was ready to go bananas.
Anyways, so they go months without seeing. I'm not looking at it.
You don't have to.
They go months without seeing brokenness. I think is the biggest thing, and you can go on social media, but then when you see, oh gosh,
he's getting you.
When you see brokenness, what will happen? You go months without seeing brokenness. That's very common to a lot of people. And the more we have this reality where basically
looking at I'm not even looking at you.
But the reason we have this reality in our society is because I believe of technology. Like, technology is so rampant that there are so many people I know who really don't like leave their homes. They're literally in their homes, scrolling through social media, watching 7 things on Netflix and 7 different series. And they're just spending all of their hours at home. And so you're insulated. You're seeing all the things you don't have. And that somehow is giving you this feeling of almost contentment, but then at the same time, discontentment, because you don't have any of those things. And then the difference is, because a lot of people then would say, well, Noah, there's a million things on social media that are brokenness. But I truly believe that there's a difference between seeing a bomb go off on a screen and being somewhere with where a bomb went off. Like, I was just spending some time with some friends out in Orange County, and they were in Israel when the Hamas attacked on October 7th, a year and a couple months ago. And the way that they were talking about it, and even the videos they had on their phone, and you hear the bombs hitting, you hear the rockets, whatever it was hitting, it's a different story. Like, you see the shaking, you see all this, rather than just a camera that's far off that's watching these bombs explode. It's like, there's a difference, and you can be so desensitized in seeing a homeless person through a screen than in real life. And something about that homeless person in real life is that they can come up to you and talk to you. And you're going to be faced with the question that you don't have an answer to. You're going to be faced with a conversation that you weren't expecting. You're going to be faced with something different. And so that's why, like, every human who ever goes on a mission trip or on a any trip to serve the poor, like an inner city soup kitchen, they're always so built up inside. And that is singularly for gratitude.
Yeah.
Because they see people that are less fortunate than themselves. And they're like, wow, like, I have a pretty great life.
Yeah.
And so I think it's definitely a definition first world problem. And I think that technology is giving way to this more than ever before, because in a negative way, you're seeing all the things you don't have. And then in another negative way, you're seeing brokenness, but it's desensitized through a screen versus in person.
Yeah.
And so I'm
the incarnational piece is huge.
It's huge. It's huge. It's in the more we don't interact as humans, the more we will find ourselves ill prepared for life, but then really not having what I would consider to be one of the most foundational points of life, which is gratitude.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think what you guys are both pointing to is we live in a world that is 100%, the wants outweigh the needs. So we have people that it's just like, oh, I want for these things, but it's like, I don't actually need too much in my life, right? We've created these kind of different comfort kingdoms that we live in. And I think, Brad, what you were saying that I think really struck a nerve with me was kind of this idea, and we've talked about it before, but just how like ego is the enemy, right? So constant fixation on what do I get? What am I going to get from this? Or how do I look out for me and my own? And I think, and like the disparity of inequality, like I think, which is so prevalent. Why? Because in the West, this is where the woke culture is most prevalent, right?
Yeah,
like I
that's
think these more developed nations are focused on woke culture. Whereas if you were to go to like a developing nation in like Africa and you try to explain to them what woke culture is, they'd be like, what? Like, what are you talking about?
Our videos.
They're like, we're
hilarious.
actually all going to go out and try to find dinner tonight. Is actually what we're doing.
Yeah. Cause they're focused on their need, right? And not only that, but focused on gratitude. Like there's so much, I think, more of a healthy perspective of, and I actually, there's this great docuseries on Disney Plus through National Geographic. It's called Limitless. It's got what's his name, Hemsworth in it.
Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth.
I think it's
Thor.
Which
one's Thor? Whatever Thor's. Liam Hemsworth. And so in it though, he goes through different facets of the human experience, and so much of it's focused on tapping into our needs, right? So he, one episode is on facing fear. So he goes like to the top of like the tallest building in Australia, and he has to tightrope cross, walk across it. So he comes face to face with fear, or face to face with fear of heights. Another episode, he goes into like breath training. So he's like thrown into the bottom of a pool and like
Wim Hof's down there.
Well, he's
like
strapped up with what do you call it? Like handcuffs and leg cuffs, and he's like struggling underwater to breathe. And so he's pushing his body to this limit, these limits. One of them is on fasting, but the fasting was super interesting because they talked to these different hunter-gatherer tribes that were still in like Africa and different nations. And they're basically talking about how today is sufficient for itself. Like I'm not focused on my 5-year plan or my 10-year plan or how I'm going to accumulate like the best hut in my village. It's just, how am I going to eat today?
Yeah.
Right. And being focused on what I do, it's today. Like gratitude of, because I don't have all these wants. It's like, there's only these needs. And when I have these needs, I see, wow, the world has provided for them. Mother Nature has provided for them. God has provided, my deity, whatever it is. Like there's this sense of something greater than myself has to provide for me. Right. And I think this is a cool thing about like agriculture and farming is there's a dependency on something that it's like completely outside of my control that has to come through. Right. And I think, no, like all the stuff you were hitting with, tech, it's like, and one of the big things is like comparison. We're constantly comparing ourselves to other individuals of, well, they have what I don't have, or man, those shoes look awesome. I'm starting to think about, I need those shoes. How am I going to get those shoes? And it's just a constant fixation on what I don't have as opposed to what I do have, which I do believe has led us to being one of the poorest nations in the world. We are the most wealthy, right? We're able to spend $13 billion on Black Friday, $10 billion on Cyber Monday. But we live in a world where our negativity in our constant fixation on getting what we don't have has made us poor. Like we don't know what we have. And so we're just spiritually and
Yeah.
mentally poor because it's mind boggling. Mother Teresa talked about that. It's like the most poor people in the world are not those in the slums of Calcutta, but those in America.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but isn't the wild piece that it's all, but like, it does seem like such a fine line though, because that's also the place we find amazing innovation.
Yeah.
Is from this discontentment. And so it's like, I've been really wrestling with that in my own life. Like, because again, not the gratitude piece, because I think that actually just starts from, what do I feel owed? Well, wait, I'm actually not owed anything. So everything can be gift. And then I can find gratitude. But again, those fruits of gratitude that you see, like one of them is like a healthy contentment. But what's the difference between healthy contentment and unhealthy contentment? You know, even thinking about like, sufficient for the day. I agree with that. And because we're in a place where the Lord has given so much, how can I steward a 3-year vision, a 5-year vision? But that is tricky though, because the moment you start fixating on that too much, you do become more selfish.
And it's how do you carry, like, so again, what I'm saying and what we're talking about here is not necessarily like we need to throw off this developed nation.
Yeah, sure,
and we need
sure. It's not like let's go back to sub-Saharan Africa.
No, but it's how do we live in the world that we're in, but have that heart that they have, right? So it's this heart of like true gratitude of
the both and.
Yeah. And so I think that's a huge part of what you're sharing, Brad. And I also think like there's this dual-edged sword where it's we specifically, because everyone we're talking to and that's listening to this is probably, in a more well-off circumstance than most of the world, right? So I think that there's
what if you make $30,000 a year or something like that? You're in the top 1% of the world.
Yeah.
Isn't that insane? I think fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's true.
Well, so in the letter, James's letter, James, right? Does James write the letter? Or is it Paul to James? I don't know. Whoever.
The letter. No, it's James.
James.
Sorry. No.
Theology major over here. So, James in the letter written by James.
That he writes.
Yeah. So, James 1:1. The same thing. It's like, consider it all joy, my brothers, when you encounter various trials and hardships, right? Because they lead to proven faith or whatever it is. So, where I'm going with that though is I think there is this. We have to live in this place of every single one of us is going to encounter hardship, right? You guys don't know this. And Brad, I hope you're okay with me saying this, but like, I mean, you're sitting at a table with men who have gone through a fair deal of suffering. Like you heard a little bit of just what I went through in the last week and a half. Like Noah lost his dad at a young age. Like Brad had back surgery and like a really hard disease that kind of plagued his body for many years. And it's like, we go through these moments of intense hardship and suffering. And then you get on the other side of it.
Yeah, right.
Right. And then you can look back and you can say, man, I'm not happy that happened, but I'm happy for who I am on the other side of that.
Because the seed's in it, like what you were saying. Right. Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. I think it was like gosh, we miss the good stuff if we miss that.
Yeah.
Because that's actually what gets us. I think for me, if I'm being really honest, when I set the 3 to 5 year goals, it's not because I think that's actually where I'm going to be in 3 to 5 years, but it gives me hope of what could be. And then whatever brings itself to me, I have a vision on what I want on the other side. So I go through it more forthrightly. You know what I mean? Like I handle reality differently whenever I have that appropriate context. And so I think it's this, Jordan Peterson lecture that I listened to one time where he was talking about the idea of mastering today and mastering the ability to sacrifice things today for the betterment of tomorrow. But in both he talks about how sacrifice is so central, because I have to sacrifice the grandiose visions that I could have for what I am going to do today. And then within what I do today, I have to choose those pockets where it's like, I'm actually going to sacrifice time to work out so that I can actually maintain my body for 60 years. I'm going to sacrifice this time to pray because my soul matters to me, right? Like I'm going to sacrifice this time to read. You can go through whatever, right? But within all of this, I'm wondering like how much it ties into those different themes that we've been pulling. Like, can you be grateful without having ever sacrificed? Because like, it's almost like that's what says, I'm really grateful for this. I'm going to set it aside and look like when you fast, I'm looking at what life looks like without the food that I'm so blessed to have. And whoa, that's different. You know, it's almost like this there's almost an accompaniment there, I guess, of like this sacrificial stance that allows gratitude, like holding on loosely, I guess is what I'm saying. Like not coveting it, not saying I'm entitled to it, like I was saying, but like holding on loosely, being willing to have a sacrificial spirit about the gifts I've been given because they weren't mine anyway.
Yeah.
Because you start from that premise of not being owed anything.
Well, yeah, I want to go back to Brad. You asked that question of how do you, especially as a man, like how do you basically plan for your life accordingly?
Yeah, that like line.
and take serious the responsibilities you have, which could sometimes look like worrying. But how do you the 3 to 5 years, the 10-year goal, whatever it is, how do you hold that intention with sufficient for today as its own evil, and in this reality that Sam's talking about, right? Where you go to these impoverished countries and they're just happy about today. So, but you don't want to undevelop the US, right? Or whatever it is. And so Sam already said the answer to that, and it's control. It's all about control. Because in the farmer, I've been just thinking about this so much. The farmer is like, I really believe I've been thinking about this so much. I think it's one of the best examples of the life that we are all meant to live. Because what the farmer has to do is the farmer has to put in an insane amount of upfront work. Like they have to work harder than most people work.
Yeah, they're working 100 hours
in the world.
100-hour weeks.
Like literally, they're working so hard, all to put in this work into the land, knowing that it's an uncontrollable force, that being the weather, that will give them what they need for their sustenance, for their family, for themselves, and for the future generations.
Which is also amazing that, I mean, this is a broad statement, and I'm not trying, I mean, I've never met an atheist farmer.
Yeah.
I think almost every person, like, cause why? Cause it's like, and it's stereotypes for a reason. It's like, you always see the farmer who's got his head down, praying, and he's got the dirty hands, and he's like, there's something to the fact of like, if I can be my own God, then why do I need a God?
Yeah. Purposeful, intentional abdication of control. Not like out of control for chaos sake, but like a purposeful abdication of like, I'm not going to control everything. I'm going to give margins for things that are bigger than me, that are outside of my.
That is, if you meet any successful, sober addict, like any addict who's been sober and has had sobriety for any normal amount of time, every one of them will say my addiction, I got sober when I realized I wasn't in control. And that is like, if we can walk out with that, gratitude becomes really the only next thing to do. Because the reality, like I think I had this thought, probably 4 years ago, where I recognized like what you're saying, Brad, like nothing is owed to me. And so if I see everything that's given to me as a gift, then my life becomes so much better versus me trying to just strong arm everything. And I'm like the worst when it comes to control. I want to be able to control every facet of every single situation, like in all areas of my life. I want to control. I get so angry in sports because I believe I can control the outcome. I get so angry in all these other things. Like I get so angry.
Well, it protects me from chaos.
Yes.
Like that's the reason that we build control kingdoms, is because it protects me from my fear of the chaos that will ensue if control isn't had.
Exactly. And it takes massive events in people's lives a lot of times to recognize, holy crap. Like,
well, usually
I don't have
if we can say it on both ends though, it's usually massive events in people's life that makes them want to control everything. And it's usually massive events in people's life that then shows like, oh wait, if I keep trying to control, I'm going to destroy myself because I can't, because the reality is everything you said, like there's going to be loved ones that pass and we're going to be like, I couldn't control that. Right. There's going to be these health scenarios that like, you're like, and man, I won't speak for anyone else, but like, that's a huge wrestle for me, is like, how much of that was I in control of? I have no idea, and there's this like, discomfort would be the right word there. But I love what you're getting at, because I do think it gets to your point, Sam, really well, is like, man, we live in a world where it's so easy to control my life. It's so easy to find myself outside of reality. It's so easy for me to feel like I am self-sufficient. Not in the way Paul talks about it, which is my self-sufficiency actually comes from having no anxiety at all and knowing in everything that God is there, but rather that I feel my self-sufficiencies in my merit, in my acumen, in my intellect, in my, you fill in the blank. When it's an ascent and a progression like that, I don't think it gives margin for gratitude.
Yeah.
Because this is where there's going to be so many listeners I think get frustrated, but this is where that pure meritocracy conversation is wrong. It's wrong. It's not, we shouldn't give everyone what they merit. Because that would be a bad plan. Now I understand where merit, like it's like someone that works hard, like let's put them in a position, like there is a place for that conversation, but like, if we live a life that's purely, I only want what I merit, I mean,
then go to hell.
Then then you're going to live in
seriously. If you want what you deserve, then go to hell.
You're going to live in a mirror. You're going to live in a self-sufficient unto myself. How many men do you think live in that? Like, honestly, like there's so many men and they're not even trying to. They're just like, I'm envious of what I see on there. So I'm going to start hyper obsessing on my body or hyper obsessing on my intellect or hyper obsessing on my possessions or hyper obsessing on my income. And now all of a sudden, look who I am. Yeah. No one can say anything about it. It's like, but wait, none of that leaves room for gratitude. Because who gave you a gift along the way? Yeah. Like who's subscribing to your channel that's allowing you to make that money? And who were your parents and how did they build up your intellect and your ability to read? And like, what school did you go to and what teachers did you have? Like, it gives no room for that because I built up this like Ubermensch. It
reminds me of last week. First I'll just say this really quick. There's an organization I worked for about 10 years ago. The founder of this organization told this story, and it had to do with gratitude. And he said one of his best friends was about to go on vacation, and he was, having a conversation with them, and his friend was like, I'm about to head down to Florida, and we're going to be there for a couple weeks. And this founder of the organization looks over to his friend and is like, you know what, man, you deserve that. And he just said, no, I deserve hell, but I'm going to take a vacation. And it's just such a clear, like, oh, good point. Right. Yeah. But what I was thinking about was last week, Sam and I were, for the organization we work for, we're doing some fun things out in the East Coast. And so we were in Baltimore, and it struck me so deeply because we're raising money for this awesome opportunity. And there's one guy who fronted a large, like a sixth of what we needed. And this isn't a small number. We're talking in the millions. And he fronted a massive amount of money to make this happen. And I'd never heard him talk about it before. I just have been, I've known the guy for a long time, but he got up in front and he simply just said, said his name. And he said, God just really blessed my business. And that's all he said. It was never like, man, I kicked butt and I like, I dominated this, that, or the other. And I cornered the industry on this. And I always, as a kid, I knew I wanted to be a millionaire and be able to change. He was just like, I happen to be blessed by God. And that is why, like, his wife, it's funny, his wife gets mad at him all the time because he gives too much money away. And he does it because he knows it's not his. He knows it's not his. Like, in the way his
can't take something from someone who's convinced it's not theirs anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, his humility was just so profound for me in that moment of like, me, who I have a million endeavors. One of them is to start a business and to be successful in that business. Yeah. And we
should want to be successful.
Yeah, but I'm so stressed about it because I'm not grateful for the fact that this was an idea that was given to me and the pieces have come together and it's been awesome the way it's happened. And I can enjoy that. And then I can, like the farmer, put the work in that I'm supposed to put in because it's good. It's fun and it's good. And it's good for us to work hard.
Yes.
And so I put that work in day by day, knowing, just like this businessman who's been uber successful, it's at the end of the day, I do what I've been told to do and I do it well.
Yeah.
And then I'm grateful for anything that flows back.
And to
it's
have
really awesome when that happens.
Have that perspective that, I mean, C.S. Lewis popularized it, but that saying of everything is a gift. Like, everything is a gift. Yeah. And so, I mean, you sitting in the hospital bed, man, it's a gift.
Yeah.
And you were a gift too in that moment. Yeah. All the hospital workers. Yeah. I mean, they walked away a better person because you carry within your heart a card of gratitude of like, do I feel like I should be here? No, probably not. But I'm going to be here. I'm going to be the best version of myself I can be for these people, because you live from that place of gratitude. And I think it's an important thing for us to talk about as men, because and I don't know if you guys get this vibe, maybe I'm just reading into it too much, but like gratitude, I think when I say the word gratitude, I think most men think of their friends that are girls that have little gratitude journals, that it's like a feminine characteristic, right? To be grateful, to like, it literally, like, women have those shirts like grateful, thankful, blessed. It's like this, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Is it because it feels so passive? Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
I don't know what it is. I mean, I think it's because it causes self-reflection, which I think is not an easy thing for men. I think so many men are just doers, fixers. And I think that's all of our natural tendencies, is to like want to fix something or to do it or to be solution oriented, which is why it's so pivotal that as men, we stop and we have to, like, you show me a man who takes dedicated time every morning or evening or both to think about his life, to reflect on his life, to perfect his life. That's a man who's going to make a mark on the world. And so much of that has to be a heart of gratitude of, the circumstances I'm going through that are hard right now. What is it? Like, find that seed, water that seed, be grateful for that seed, because it's going to grow. It's going to transform something, right? Or things that are going great in your life. It doesn't have to always be the suffering too. Like, I think, to be able to have the heart of gratitude of like, even simply today, like I had a reckless controlled vehicle ticket that was given to me during my wreck that I was in a couple weeks ago. And I called the county clerk's office and they said, "Sir, your ticket's already been paid." And I was like, "I didn't pay that ticket." And they're like, "The judge dismissed your case, so you don't have to pay it." I'm like, "That's freaking awesome." Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not karma like Taylor Swift, but
but you catch those glimpses.
You do.
And you should be grateful for it. I am wrestling though. I like wrestling with that. What is it about the masculine spirit that feels a rub with gratitude? Like, because I think it's because at the end of the day, we don't want to admit that we needed some help. Like that we needed someone else. Like, I think that's the difficulty with brotherhood. Like, if there's one thing that I've been after the last like 5 years, it's like, gosh, I want to figure out how to be a committed brother. Like I was really fortunate, like in a really pivotal time in my life, to have men around me that like wanted to band together so we could be better men together. And I've never lacked that since. But in the last 5 years, I've really been asking myself, like, man, what is it about me that's uncomfortable? Like, just like leaning on these guys that I know would be there at the drop of a hat for me. And a lot of it, I think, is just this, like, I want to be the hero of my own story. Like I want to use like all this like momentum against me as fuel, like an enemy that I can overcome, instead of just like, actually, wait, if I don't care who gets the credit, I can have a lot of fun. Like if I don't care to be the hero of my own story, then like there's times when Noah can be the hero of my story, and Sam can be, and my wife can be, and my kids can be. And like there's room for other people to actually have these pivotal junctures in your life whenever you're not obsessed with making yourself the hero. And I do think that there is something a little different to this episode than the other ones that we're talking about, because it is something you have to hold in tension, like we talk about all the time here, because it's not that we should let go of the fight, and it's not that we should let go of the pursuit of greatness, and it's not that we should let go of our desire to do and achieve the things that we've set out to do and achieve. But it is to say, like, at the end of the day, anything that happens in those arenas of my life is because I was blessed with something, an opportunity, a yes, a partner, a friend, a conversation. Like you can always find at some point something you didn't do to get you to where you are. And that's really, at least for me, when gratitude and a just different worldview takes shape. Because gratitude, like you said, like the hope, peace, and abundance, the abundance thing really struck me when you said it, because like, gosh, whenever I can get myself to that gratitude, I'm like, I'm just so abundantly blessed with people who want to see me succeed. That want to see me be the man that I want to be.
Now here's the thing. So there are guys that are listening to this, and I know there are people out there that would hear what we're talking about and be like, dude, there's nothing in my life I want to be grateful for. Like everything's going wrong. Yeah. Like
I was dealt this hand as a young age was shitty, and then this
everything.
This.
You name it. I'm sure there are people out there. What do we say to those people? Because I think we could say, like, cultivate gratitude or, think about it this way differently. I'm just trying to put myself in this situation because I think the three of us really should be grateful for the perspective we have in life that's been given to us by so many individuals who have helped formed us and shaped us, but even life experiences I think have led us to this point of being able, that gratitude might be something that comes a little bit more easy than some people. So I'm curious what you guys think about those who are maybe like harder or more difficult situations that can't really see the light at the end of the tunnel. How do we encourage them to be grateful?
Yeah, this might be aggressive, but what I would say is it's a selfish reality to not be grateful. I just think it is. I think to think that you are not just the victim, but the only victim is just bullcrap. Like it's a selfish behavior to not be grateful.
Yeah, you're dead on.
Because to think for a second that our blood, like all of our blood runs red. It's just true. Like you're not going to tell me for a second that there is not. And the worst thing that's what's the saying that the worst thing that's ever happened to someone is the worst thing that's ever happened to someone. Like the truth of the reality, like the truth of the situation is like the worst thing that's happened to you, even though in my subjective opinion, I don't think it's as bad as this person, what's happened to them. It happened to you.
Yeah.
And that's your reality. And that's that you're going to have to grapple with the difficulty that brings you. And so every human on earth, because we're in a fallen world, is experiencing brokenness in one way or another. And you as an individual to try what you're communicating, if you're like, I have nothing to be grateful for, is you're communicating to the world that you are so maybe important, or you are so specific and unique that you have a struggle that no one could understand, and that you alone are living on this island, and therefore you have something that no one else has, therefore you can't be grateful, is what I hear when I hear that. Because I'm just like, no, that's not true. You have suffering in your life, and so do I. And our suffering could be different in that, because we are unique individuals. But to say for a second that we don't breathe the same air, that we don't, that you're even listening to this podcast because like you have some way to listen to it. I'm sorry. It's a selfish, insulated look at your life. Like you're the only one.
Yeah.
And I think I know that's aggressive. And I know that there are times, and I would say in my own life, I don't know why my dad died. I don't, right? Like I'm not grateful that he died yet. I won't be on this side of eternity, probably, but that doesn't mean my life isn't beautiful and good. Yeah. And I still, like, some people will find reasons for why, like, I've met people who has had a parent died and they've been like, it's clear as day that if my parent didn't pass, then my other parent would have gone through what they needed to go through. Yeah. Now they're changing a million people's lives. No, like I don't see that yet in my life, but I know the fact of the matter that there is so much in my life that there's more going right than not. Yeah. And that's awesome. And I can be grateful for those things. And I'm not that special. Right.
Well, isn't there also a humility, I think, to your question, Sam, and just thinking to yourself, there's probably someone that has gone through exactly what I've gone through and done better with it than I have. Yep. Like that's just an awesome reflection. Yep. Because it just puts you in a place of like, okay, that's okay. Okay. Well, then I have some hope here. And I don't have to play victim. They're like, I don't think that's a stretch to say with the billions of people that have ever existed, is there's probably been someone who has been dealt a very similar hand to me and has done amazingly well with it. And so that just brings a real humility of like, okay, well, that gives me permission to do something different than I've been doing with it. And it shows me that I don't have to like rest on my laurels here, or I don't have to hide behind this brokenness or this hardship for the rest of my life. Yeah. I think there's a power in thinking that way, like, there's probably someone like me who's doing it really well. And great. I want to be that type of person too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those are really, really good insights. And I think, you woke up today, you're not dead.
That's
like
right.
there's, even if it's the
I gotta get better
thing.
at that. Just like hitting it, like hitting my knees right when I wake up. Like I'm someone who believes in God. Yeah. Like that. Yeah. That's insane. People died last night. They didn't wake up.
And I'm here. Yeah.
And I woke up, and it's like, you just take it for granted because you get right into the anxiety of the day, right into like, being like,
There's actually something I wrote down as I was preparing for this that kind of hits what Noah was sharing. So, Cicero was a Greek philosopher, Greek Stoic. And he wrote that gratitude is not only the greatest virtue, but it's the parent of all virtues. and ingratitude is the parent of all vices. And so it's like
that's a good word.
Gratitude
Yeah, it's a good
in and
word.
of itself is the parent of all virtues. Like if you think about, even just this to whoever that is, whoever the person is that struggles to see any value in life right now, could be as simple as just, okay, you want to start to turn this train around. You don't have to be grateful for like the most hard circumstance in your life, but you can be grateful for the fact that you have air in your lungs. You've got two eyes, a
capacity to reason enough that
and
you
to change
think
your
that you don't
circumstances.
have. Yeah.
That's like the coolest thing about life, right? Is like, if you don't like the hand that you're dealt, many of us can change our circumstances. Yep. Like you can look at your life and think, this is what I'm so passionate about self-development is like, you can look at your life and you can craft your life.
You can dream better. Like, you can definitely get 1%
absolutely.
Better.
And it's like the idea of, Viktor Frankl talks about it in whatever book that is that I'm totally blanking on, but he says the last of one's human freedoms is to choose one's attitude. Like when you look, like you can take away my home, you can take away my cars, you can take away my family, you can put me in you can put me in concentration camp. Yeah. The last thing you can take from me is my attitude. You can take anything from me, but you cannot crush my human spirit. Mm-hmm. You have to surrender that. Yep. Right. So there's those two things we're talking about of like living on the two edges of like, you can sacrifice for things, you can pour your heart and soul into it, but there's got to be this double-edged side of surrender and being able to be come what may, being able to really surrender to that higher power.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? Like, gratitude is so closely linked to humility and ingratitude so closely to pride. Because what you were saying, Noah, like there is something about ingratitude that is just selfish. Because what it's saying is whatever I have earned is of my own doing, and whatever's been taken from me has nothing to do with me.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I'm sufficient, self-fulfilling.
Until I'm not, and I'm a victim. Yeah.
Until I'm not, and I'm a victim. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the enemy on both sides. It's everything I've earned is mine. But if I don't get what I desired to earn, it's because someone else.
Well, that's why I think it is so important that you have that structure in your life, right? Like I think the happiest I've ever been was, and I'm actually, it's funny, I'm kind of reading back in a journal that I would write in that would talk about what I was going through in this time 2 years ago. But in January of 2023, yep, I committed to a spreadsheet that had 10 things on it. And on this spreadsheet, it was, I wanted to do cold submersion every morning. I wanted to work out 3 times a week. I wanted to do a 24-hour water fast every single week. And I wanted, it had things, be silent in the car 3 days a week, whatever it was. I had things in my life that I was trying to accomplish and knowing,
like yes or no.
Yeah. It was a spreadsheet with 10 things and had a checkbox or not a checkbox. Yeah. And I did that for 6 months. And I was the happiest I'd ever been. Why? Because these 10 things didn't even have to do with my work. Like these 10 things had to do with my personal life, that I wanted to work out 3 times a week. I wanted to do cold submersion every morning. I wanted to eat better. And I had these specific 10 things, and I would go to bed knowing if I did it or not. And so whatever chaos broke out, I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't have control over it, but the 10 things I had control over, I was doing. And as I did that over 6 months, I became so much more happy because I was like, look, anything can happen today. But I did my 10 things. That's what I have control over. And if I have control over these 10 things, great. That's what I'm committed to. And these are all things that are out of my control. I have the ability to know what time I can wake up. Mm-hmm. I have the ability to put myself into cold water and be in pain for 3 minutes to 5 minutes. I have the ability to take 10 minutes out of my morning because I can choose when I wake up and take that 10 minutes, right? I can wake up 10 minutes earlier. It was all things that I had control over that I could put into my life. That I chose whether or not they happened. And that built up this confidence in me and this gratitude in me when something awesome happened in a day, because I was like, look, I wasn't even trying to make that happen today. I was just doing the things that I was setting out to do, like the farmer, right? Mm-hmm. But this thing happened.
Well, it's also cyclical, because gratitude is actually that which leads you to stewardship, and then stewardship leads you back to gratitude. So I'm grateful for the things I have, so I'm going to steward them the best I can. And as I steward them better and better, I'm more and more grateful for them. So I'm going to steward my mind by being silent in the car this meeting. I'm going to steward my body by eating right. I'm like, and you can just see it. It's like, I'm grateful for these things that I've been given: a body, a mind, a soul, like all these things. So I can steward those things, and as I steward them more and more, I become more and more grateful for just the fact that I even have them, which is awesome. This is sweet. I'm going to put a semicolon on it because I think we could probably talk for another hour on gratitude, and maybe we'll swing back to it. But I think it's probably best to move to principal objectives now. This, for anyone that's listening for the first time, this is the part of the podcast where we just kind of dive into the practicals. We don't just want to talk about concepts. We don't just want to talk about ways of living life, but we want to commit to things, and we don't want to overcommit because it's always better to actually, like Noah was saying, have something that I put out that I do. So principal objectives. 2 weeks ago, my principal objective was to work out on a more consistent basis. I can't remember if I said every day or not, but I definitely said on a more consistent basis. And I would say that I've been mixed in my follow through on that. This past week in Arizona was awesome. I hiked or like went on like a lengthy walk. Like by that, I mean like hilly terrain, like mountainous terrain, almost every day. So like I'm beginning what I think is where I want to be, but I don't think I committed to it in the way that I voiced it. So I wanted to own that, but excited for progress there because like you were saying, Sam, since really getting sick a number of years ago, I haven't had a rhythm. And in the last year I haven't been sick. So I just haven't been able to get back on it. And I feel some momentum, but definitely not there yet. So that was my last 2 weeks. Y'all, what about you guys?
Yeah. So I think I re-upped on the intentionality and intensity of time. And I did it better this last couple weeks than I did the weeks prior. So started using my daily planner again, was able to really intentionally put out the time blocks for the day and then be focused in them. So I was more disciplined. So I'd say probably like 80% of those days was able to attack the day with intentionality and intensity.
Come on, man.
I'm like 99% confident that mine was about not gossiping. And if you look back at this episode and that wasn't it, then I'm an idiot. But no, I'm pretty confident what it was. And I would say it was better in certain times than it was in others. I think, but what I am grateful for is over this last week with a little bit more of a heightened focus on it. Yeah. I think what I recognized was when I start gossiping. And I think it's what I was able to recognize is when I'm in a heated, angry situation. Yeah. Even just getting into that stupid little melee with my family, I recognized
you poke this little part or that little part.
Yeah, like I recognize my fiance and I went out and grabbed like the pizza for my family to bring it back to our house, and in the car I'm just going off like my family's unintelligent. They don't know this, they don't know that, and it's like I don't even mean it. It's the best doing it with someone who you're like going to spend the rest of your life with because they're like we get back into the driveway. She's like, so
you want to talk about that?
She never has cussed in her life, literally ever said a cuss word, but she basically was just like, what the hell is that? And I was like, yeah. So my family's actually really intelligent. Like they're pretty awesome. Yeah. I'm pissed off because of the way I felt. Right. Yeah. And so it was a good clarity moment. And there have been a series of those moments where I've gossiped, but it's been out of a real frustration versus like, hey, I heard this happen with this person. So that's been helpful for me. And I've had to have good recognition. Like a couple confrontational conversations that were really a gift because I noticed that when I left those, I had two specific confrontational conversations about issues that I had with a certain situation with these two people. And both of them, it was amazing. I left feeling like I wanted to back that person and support that person 10 times more than the people that I haven't had a conversation with where I want to fight that person. Right. And so, it was a mixed bag, but it gave me some knowledge for how to approach the next months and years of my life. Honestly.
That's good, man. That's good. Well, this week, so we talked about gratitude, talked about humility, pride, stewardship, control. How do we abdicate control intentionally, but also not allow our life to just be chaos? How to balance between 3 to 5 year vision that I want to steward well, but also living for the moment, recognizing that I'm not promised more than I have right now. Anything in there sticking out on something you want to put into action the next 2 weeks?
Yeah. So I am kind of like a hoarder of journals. So I have like a bunch of journals. So I'm not going to get
I don't think I
another
knew that about
journal.
you.
Yeah. I've got
Freak.
like a journal for freaking everything, dude. I've got a journal for what I think about Noah. I've got a journal for what I think about Brad.
Where I gossip about it.
There's like,
Oh, no.
there's like a big heart on it.
Yeah, right. I have, but a bunch of journals. So I'm just going to stick to the one that I have. That's like my daily planner journal, and then my prayer journal. But I'm going to spend an intentional 5 minutes of my morning rhythm of what I'm actually grateful for. Not just like,
good.
oh, I'm so glad I woke up today, which is a good thing, but to actually like write out what am I grateful for, and then to do some goal setting within that of like really, I think we can get into this at a later episode, but being able to like really start to try to rewire my brain of how I view the world through like some different scripts that I use, and particularly though gratitude.
Love it. Love it. Love it. You got something?
Yeah, I would say similarly. Mine's similar. So,
Journal hoarder.
no, I'm definitely not that. I'm just kidding. But for me, I have never liked a morning in my life. I hate mornings.
I don't think I knew that
hate
either.
them.
I did that.
I could be up until 2 a.m. living my best life. I think my best schedule would probably be about 2:30 a.m. to about 11. 2:30. Yeah, 2:30 a.m. to about 11:30 a.m. is my sleeping window, and the rest is
It's
awake.
just,
Like
just partying.
I'd live my best life doing that. So mornings are very difficult for me, and I really want to commit, especially mornings in the winter where you're just cold and you're pissed
And it's
because
dark.
cold
Yeah.
and it's dark. To really commit in the morning to find that one thing to say thank you. Again, we're all Christians, and in Psalm 100 it says that we enter His gates with thanksgiving, enter God's gates with thanksgiving. And so, really, that's communicating is in order to access the divine, you have to first be thankful. And I think I want to enter into that when I wake up, because the natural around me is not comfortable. It's cold. It's dark. It sucks. The sun's probably not going to come out that day. And I don't want to be up as early as I am. But so I need a divine reality to come and kind of bring light to what I'm experiencing. And that's finding that one thing and saying, I'm grateful for this right now. Now get up and go.
Yeah, I like that. My mind immediately went to, I have a progress pentagon, which I think I've talked about on this podcast before, but it's like the 5 arenas of my life. And I really reflect on them daily, on like how I'm doing in each, how I'm progressing in each. I set goals around them. But one thing I've never done is actually like taken time for gratitude in each of the arenas. And I think that could be a really cool add to like the function it already serves in my life, which is one of like forward facing and getting better and healthy discontentment. But I think also like working into it a healthy contentment of like what I'm thankful for in my personal life, professional life, partnership with Nina, like stuff like that, I think could be a really, really cool thing to do and just try on the next couple of weeks. So I think I'm going to do that, add that into the progress pentagon, what I'm grateful for in my 5 arenas, and then see where it goes from there.
Booyah.
Awesome.
I love it.
Throat punch.
Throat punch. Yeah.
Throat punch.
We're going to get stickers because 12, we're going to buy a 12 pack of stickers and say
12 pack.
throat punch. If this is your first time watching, this is Modern Man. We're seeking to rediscover, I think is the first word. I'm just kidding. Rediscover and redeem the heart of man in the modern world, because it's worth fighting for. And gratitude is one way we can fight for it. If you have listened today and would like to send this to someone because you think it would bless them, we'd encourage you to do that. And if this podcast blesses them, have them send it to anyone that they know too, because we want to be able to bring everyone into the conversation around what masculinity should be. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.